Ever since the Raptors failed in their attempt to trade into the 2013 draft to take Giannis Antetokounmpo, they've tried to recreate the magic the Bucks got out of that selection, and sometimes it went more successfully than other times, but the next player they could take this chance on is Noa Essengue in the 2025 NBA Draft. Let's get into it. Welcome back, everybody. This is Amateur Sports. It is a YouTube channel that is completely dedicated to providing you with Toronto Raptors content in videos just like this one, where we break down some of the biggest names the Raptors could select with the 9th overall pick and discuss if it would be the right selection for the team. And we've seen in the past, Masai Ujiri oftentimes is associated with drafting players just like this. Two-way athletic wings, long wingspan, multi-positional on defense with a lot of different tools that this Raptor development team could potentially harness and take to the next level. Noa Essengue fits potentially just into that. As far as the pronunciation of his name, I've seen Essengue, I've seen Essengue. I'm fluent in French. I have a degree in French. How I would pronounce it looking at it is Noa Essengue. If that's incorrect, I apologize and hope to correct myself in the future, but that's how I'm going to say it over the course of the video. And over the course of this video, what we're going to do, we're going to learn absolutely who the player is. We're going to talk about his stats from his season playing pro ball overseas. We're going to talk about his strengths, his weaknesses. We're going to give you a player comparable before deciding if this would be a good selection for the Raptors. So let's jump into it. Noa Essengue, who exactly is this player? Well, one of the youngest players entering this 2025 NBA draft at the time that his name is called on draft night. And he has received a green room invite, so it suggests that there is definitely some strong lottery considerations in play for the player. At the time of the draft, he will be just 18 and a half years old. Plays his trade right now, playing pro ball, like I said, with Ratio Farm in Germany, where they're in the midst of a successful season. They're currently in the finals of the Bundesliga season against Bayern Munich. They also had a decent run in the Euro Cup, which he also featured in, which we'll talk about. But I think the biggest thing that has scouts enamored with this player is the size. 6'10" with a 7'1" wingspan. I didn't include it here, but he has a standing reach above 9'3", which is one of the tallest in the entire draft class. Like, taller than most of the centers entering the draft as well. There's only like a handful of players. I think it's like 3. One of them is Kaman Malawash, who actually have a higher standing reach than Noa Essengue. And this is a player who's a bit of like a combo forward who can play a little bit of small ball 5. Like, there is excitement for the tools that this player has alongside being gifted with this length and gifted with the athleticism that he has. And he has put it on display with some pretty good statistics overall playing in Germany and in Europe. Now, I've included 2 different sets of statistics here. One of which is from the BBL, the Bundesliga season, in which he played in 30 regular season games. I've seen like a couple conflicting sets of data for the player. I believe I have the accurate set here. It might be slightly off, but I believe I have it here. But anyways, over the course of those 30 regular season games, he averaged 9.7 points, 4.5 rebounds, 1.1 assists. Curiously, only 47.4% shooting from the field, which you can see here is far lower than what he actually averaged from the field in the Euro Cup, which we'll go over in just a second here. And the same can be said for his three-point percentage, which also jumped quite dramatically for the Euro Cup. In the Bundesliga, 24% from 3, true shooting percentage of 58. True shooting percentage largely brought up by his free throws. It's not that he's like an incredible free throw shooter. He shoots around like low to mid 60s from the line, but he just goes to the free throw line so often, and true shooting percentage measures efficiency across free throws, 2-pointers, and 3-pointers. And the most efficient shot in basketball is the free throw. It's just factually the most efficient shot. So if you're getting to the line a lot, it bodes well for your abilities as a basketball player. In his Euro Cup statistics, it kind of feels like as this season wore on for Noa Essengue, it got better. He just continued to get better. He continued to develop. Makes sense for such a young player playing in a professional league against grown men. But in the Euro Cup, averaged 12.4 points per game, 5.3 rebounds, the same amount of assists at 1.1. Field goal percentage shoots all the way up to 56. 3-point percentage shoots all the way up to 29.4. True shooting percentage shoots all the way up to 66.6. I've seen conflicting numbers for true shooting percentage. I calculated it manually. I got 66.6. Very impressive numbers there. Again, it comes a lot from the fact that his free throw rate is just utterly ridiculous. Gets to the line so often. That is one of his strengths. But the biggest strength associated with Noa Essengue is absolutely the size and athleticism. It's all the tools in conjunction with being this incredible athlete who is very tall, very stringy, very long. And that's the type of profile the Raptors have liked to work with in the past, and for good reason. Like, this style of player, if you can harness some of those abilities, is just so extremely dangerous and so versatile for your lineups that the Raptors kind of take opportunities here and trust their development team to work with players like this. You know, like I said in the intro, there have been some stories where it didn't work out, but like, there are a lot of times in which potentially it could work out, and it has worked out previously for the Raptors. But what is good about Noa Essengue, it's not just, you know, the size and athleticism. Like, there is actual basketball talent here as well. And I think a lot of that talent is showcased on the defensive end of the floor, where he is very versatile as a defender, can guard multiple positions, and is kind of showing the high upside on that end to be just that defensive stopper in multiple positions. Like I said, combo forward, can play as a 3 or the 4, and I think in some lineups, especially with that standing reach, we can see Noa Essengue playing in some small ball 5 lineups. That would be pretty interesting to see. On top of that, he's super disruptive as a defender, active hands, really reaches in to try and just make your life a hell when you're trying to drive or when you're trying to dribble, can generate steals out of those situations there as well. And then on the offensive end, super strong finisher, not the strongest in terms of his like strength as a person, but strong in finishing and uses his body extremely well to generate contact and, like I said, get to the line so very often with that free throw attempt rate. He's a good off-ball player. He's great and explosive off the catch. Maybe not quite as a shooter as we saw with those statistics, but off the catch, he attacks very, very well and always plays within himself, always plays within the team environment, team first sort of player. Good guy to have as just that complementary piece to a lot of lines potentially for a team like the Raptors. And when it comes to any of the weaknesses, which we'll go over in just a second here, one of the big strengths is that there's nothing within Noa Essengue's game that we don't feel like can eventually come. All of these negative traits that we're going to talk about are things that can scale up, that can get better, that already have like the seed planted for improvement down the line. Some of the Raptors, like I said, could relish having the opportunity to work with. But the weaknesses are present. He is a bit of a raw prospect. So let's talk about the specifics here. And the bigger worries for sure are in the half court on offense. He's not a guy who's going to create his shot. He finishes plays, but he doesn't create plays, especially for himself, whether that's driving to the rim, getting past the defender, whether that's posting up. Just not going to be as strong suit generating offense in the half court. It's the full court play. It's the cutting to the rim for a good passer. And hey, there's a lot of good ball handlers in the Raptors and could relish having an off-ball player within their team. I think that's something that could complement them. But for now, half-court offense will have to improve, as will the perimeter shooting, very inconsistent from 3. Now, it's been great that he's in an environment like Ulm where he is kind of just allowed to play his game, and they're going to accept the flaws that come with it. They've allowed Noa Essengue to express himself on the floor and be the player that he wants to be. That's helped with development a lot, and it's been great for scouts to be able to see like him just completely express himself. He hasn't been relegated to a more simplified role. Ulm have lived with what Noa Essengue has brought, and it's been a lot more good than bad, but the shooting has been inconsistent despite the fact that he has been a little bit willing to let it fly. His handle's not the tightest. That kind of goes hand in hand with the shot creation. And it also goes a little bit hand in hand with the fact that when he's driving to the rim sometimes, he's overall a pretty good decision maker, good ball IQ. But sometimes when he's driving to the rim, he can get in a little bit of that tunnel vision. Maybe it's a little bit of just not quite assured of himself enough as a ball handler to pass out of those situations, and he just tries to attack the rim and manufacture a shot there, but he can get tunnel vision at time. Not the strongest player, like I said, uses his body well. The strength absolutely is something that can improve, and when I said he's aggressive on defense, active hands, yes, that's good, but also it makes him pretty foul heavy on that end of the floor where, he's drawing a ton of fouls, like I said, on offense, but on defense, he commits a lot of fouls. That's going to have to tone down a little bit at the NBA level. Overall, he's a raw prospect. Like, there's a lot of good tools to start with here, but where people are really excited is the athleticism and size and the tools that exist there. You are going to have to work with him. Now, I think still this is a player that can help your team out the gate because he's so positionally versatile defensively, and the Raptors lack defense. I think he's a good complementary piece to a team that already has so many dominant ball handlers that I can see a fit in the NBA from day one in some lineups. I would be excited to see exactly what he looks like in those situations. So as far as an NBA comparable, what player do I liken him to? I think at the present point, the floor for what I see Noa Essengue being able to contribute in the NBA is probably close to what Peyton Watson is for the Nuggets. Maybe not like quite to that degree of like a floor, because Peyton Watson was contributing at least a little bit to a playoff team this season in the Denver Nuggets. But Peyton Watson was a player the Denver Nuggets took an opportunity on. But Peyton Watson is an example of what happens when you're betting on a player to develop offensively and they don't create any half-court self-creation in their game, and they don't become a consistent shooter when they're open. That's basically what Noa Essengue is going to have to accomplish in the NBA. He is either going to have to figure out how he is going to generate his own offense in the half-court, or he's just going to have to start knocking down his open threes and at least contribute to the spacing. If he does one of those things, we've got a good player here because the defense is already pretty solidified, and I think that's going to be something that really excels eventually in the NBA. But he's going to have to keep himself on the offense in one of those two ways. If he does one, good. That's good. That's a good player. If he can learn to do both, that could be an exceptional player to have with the team. So the player comparable is not quite Peyton Watson. It's just kind of a showcase of when those skills don't quite come. But I think the player comparable that I'll go with here is probably, it's early on in his career as well, but Bilal Coulibaly came in this same sort of setting where we knew there was defensive talent. We knew he was a raw prospect. We knew he was going to be talented defensively. It was what was the part of the offense that was going to be able to progress to the next level. Bilal Coulibaly was supposed to be somebody who was a late lottery pick. He ended up going 7th overall, with the Wizards trading up to get him in that position. Is that the same sort of fate we could see for Essengue for this 2025 draft? Because he's projected, around maybe quite sometimes as high as the Raptors at 9, but mostly around like 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Could a team end up reaching? Could it just be the Raptors who get him at 9th overall? That could be the case. And we've seen with Bilal Coulibaly, kind of the swing factors for his game is that he's starting to develop more of that offense in the half court and self-creation, I think in his rookie season as well. I mean, contrast from his first year and second year in terms of three-point percentage, for some reason he was much better in his rookie season, but getting better as a three-point shooter there, that's helping take his game to the next level. And we knew the defense there. It's just getting that offense that's going to keep him on the floor. So overall, for Noa Essengue, would this be a good player for the Raptors? A team that's trying to make the playoffs next season? Do they have time to work on a player who I've considered to be a raw prospect in this video? I think there's enough skills here, like I said, to be able to contribute to the team in some capacity from day one. And I love the upside for this player. It's not just like a long athlete that you have to, see what happens and work with the player. Yes, you have to work with the player. Yes, you have to develop the player. But there's already a lot of really solid tools and a really good base and foundation to work with for this player. And I think that if you can harness it, there is so much upside here that it is worth taking on. He's not going to surpass Common Malawash for me in terms of either talent or fit for the Raptors selected 9th overall. But if Common Malawash is off the board, I'm not sure there's going to be many other names that are going to be as high on my list as Noa Essengue. As of right now, he might be second on my Raptors board. I'm a big fan of this prospect. I think it would be a great selection. I'd be super excited to see what he could accomplish with the Raptors and what the Raptors could accomplish with him. But you guys let me know what you think.